Hey, friends. I'm coming to you today with an old episode in a new light. It's been a year since I dropped this episode, but this concept is one that I use regularly in my work with clients. And since I dropped my 4-part series recently that broke down the model as a cognitive behavioral tool, for reference, episodes 84 to 87, that foundation will help you understand and implement this concept so much more, especially the ability to separate the neutral facts of a situation from the story that you attribute to them. But today we're going to talk about the locus of emotional responsibility. Of course, I explain it more in the actual episode, but the locus of emotional responsibility is the position in which you believe that you, as opposed to external forces in your life, have control over the emotions that you get to feel in your life, essentially saying that you're not at the whim of your emotions or even what other people do to you or around you. However, the reality you create is a direct result of what you're believing. So if you're believing that you don't have control of your emotions and they just happen to you, or that you don't get to decide to just be happy or confident or unbothered or whatever, and that you need a certain set of circumstances or criteria to be true in order for you to feel how you want, then that's the experience that you create for yourself. And the transverse of that is also true. When you take ownership of and are in a relationship with your emotions, you have significantly more control of the emotions you experience in your life and the durations in which you experience them. Of course, we can't just pick and choose to feel positive emotions all the time. It still doesn't work like that. But we do get to choose not to demonize or run away from our emotions. And emotions are also known as versions of ourselves that are looking to be heard and their needs met, which usually revolve around your comfort and safety. So, by not listening to your emotions, by not being vulnerable with your own self, you're hindering your own comfort and sense of safety. But when you do take your own emotional responsibility, you significantly limit additional suffering from pretending you don't have certain emotions or shaming yourself for recognizing that you do. And y'all, this is a game changer in literally all aspects of your life. I had a client, Rachel, come to me after an unexpected breakup in a 5-year relationship. And truly, she thought she'd be devastated in a pile of tears for years to come. We allowed all the sadness and all the anger and all the fear and the shame and the doubts and everything that came up, and we allowed it to be there and for her to actually feel it and hear it without judgment. After 1 month of working together, she said, I am so much more grounded and confident since working with Amber. Being able to support myself and celebrate and enjoy both the little and big things. This change of perspective is allowing me to rebuild my life on viable foundations and on what I want and what I need. The shift is very empowering. I am also much more aware of my emotions and in touch with them, as well as able to process them, to allow them and listen to what they are telling me. She helped me focus on myself instead of prioritizing everyone else but me. She helped me work on my people pleasing and get in touch with what I wanted, who I am, and that just being myself is more than okay and enough. I am now so much more focused on taking care of myself, my needs, and my wants, allowing me to show up just as I am and truly be there for others, coming from a place of kindness rather than fear or wanting to achieve a certain result. Now, that's just an expert from Rachel's testimonial, of course, shared with consent. But again, just to show, these small shifts make big, big changes. And I'm so excited for you to experience the results of these shifts in your own lives. For my longtime listeners, I hope you're able to understand and implement this concept in a new light. For my new listeners, I hope this concept helps you to illuminate the power and freedom you do have and empowers you not only to take ownership of your own emotions, but be in relationship with them. So without further ado, let's tune in. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Pleasure Priority Podcast with me, Amber Taylor. This is the podcast all about how you can have the audacity to put yourself and your pleasure first, which ultimately shapes a life perfect for you. We discuss friends and family, career and money, oppression, healing, and mental health, current events, and historical ones too. Basically, all things life and pleasure and how you can create more of it authentically. I'm your host, Amber Taylor, and it's my pleasure to talk to you every week. Let's tune in. Hey, friends, welcome back. What I want to talk to y'all today about our emotions and who's responsible for them and how we can create the emotions that we want kind of in any situation, in any given circumstance, no matter what anybody else decides to do or not do. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Some people think that they have total control over everything around them, and some people think they have no control over anything at all. I'm sure you can think of examples of people who fit into kind of both of these categories, but control is defined as the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events. A locus is defined as the place where something is situated or occurs. Your locus of control points to the position in which people believe that they, as opposed to external forces, have control over the outcome of events in their lives. Now, this is a concept originally developed by Julian B. Rotter in 1954, but basically the idea behind the locus of control is the degree at which people believe that they have control over the events in their lives, over how things turn out for them, over their results. And this locus of control essentially results in two poles. Like I like to view it as a spectrum of one side being an internal locus of control and the other side being an external locus of control. So those with an internal locus of control believe that they are responsible for their own successes and failures. These are the people who know that there are other things at play, but also how much power that they have over what they create in the world, whether that be a success or a failure, however they define that, the level at which they have control and responsibility of that. And those with an external locus of control believe that external factors like luck or fate or other people are responsible for their outcomes. And this isn't black and white, which is why I mentioned it's a spectrum. It's not, we want to be all the way on one side or all the way on the other. Because usually when something's so polarized, like that's where the problems ensue. But my work is to help you understand how to operate more towards the side of the internal locus of control, that side of the spectrum, because that's where your power lies. So much power that we have that we either relinquish to others or outside of ourselves is because we don't understand the level at which control that we have over the outcomes and events in our lives. So Yeah, my work is to help you move towards that side of the spectrum so you're operating more freely where you do have control. And again, I'm presenting this idea as a spectrum or a sliding scale, if you will, because spending all of your time on one end or the other of the spectrum or in one position is not the goal, nor is it helpful. This is because all situations and circumstances are not the same. And different people with their own different privileges and biases and experiences and all of that aren't the same, even in the same or very similar circumstance. So, sticking in one place of reaction or one place of like, this is what I can do about it, or this is what I can't do about it, isn't helpful because there's so many different levels of control over certain outcomes of different events in their lives. So, this work is to help you exercise the control that you do have and accept where you don't have control in the areas that you don't. And remember, acceptance is not a synonym for condoning. It doesn't mean that if you accept a circumstance, then it's okay for it to happen. Like, you don't have to like it, you don't have to want to repeat it. Accepting is just a way to stop resisting the reality of the experience. Okay, here, like human trafficking, that is deplorable. Like, I would never sell a human, I would never condone the sale of a human. I don't condone what they make those people do while they are owned like property. However, I accept the reality that it exists. Like, human trafficking is a thing. And that acceptance matters because it's a starting point to even do something about it. Like, if I was just believing that human trafficking is so wrong and I don't agree with it, so I don't even want to like look at it, then you can't look at it. Like, you can't do anything about it. You can't stop it. So acceptance is not condoning. It's just that when you accept the reality of what is, you're actually giving yourself an opportunity to respond accordingly. So that's basically the idea behind a locus of control. But I've adapted the idea to represent a spectrum for taking the responsibility of our own emotions. So this is the locus of emotional responsibility, is really what I'm gearing this conversation with y'all today. The locus of emotional responsibility is the position in which you believe that you, as opposed to external forces in your life, have control over the emotions you feel in your life. So, those with an external locus of emotional responsibility believe that other people or other factors cause their feelings. They act out, they avoid, they resist, instead of actually acknowledging their feelings and taking responsibility for them. Again, not saying that you cause all your feelings or all your feelings are wrong or you're doing something to be treated in a certain way to then feel a certain way about it. Like, no, that's not where I'm coming at you from. It's like this responsibility that whatever you are feeling is there. It's a part of you and it has something to say. Acknowledging it, accepting it gives you access to that. But if you don't, and you just believe that like things are just happening to you, then you're more operating in that external locus of emotional responsibility side of the spectrum. And this is for the people who believe everything happens to them. Like, they don't have friends because everyone else is mean. They're late because everybody else was driving slow. They didn't have time to do what they wanted to do because they just had to do everything for everybody else. And of course, the people who, if everything doesn't go exactly according to their plan, then they have a bad day. And usually they make anybody else's day who's in their orbit also hell. But yeah, it's because these people are operating from an external locus of emotional responsibility. They think that they don't have control of what's happening inside of them. They think that how somebody reacts to them or what somebody says or what somebody does or doesn't do or all this stuff is the catalyst to whatever emotion they may have. And it's not, because we can very clearly see in just our day to day lives that people react to the exact same stimulus, the exact same triggers with very different responses. And it's all because what they individually make it mean. Meaning, we have power over what we make it mean. We can decide how we want to act, how we want to show up, how we want to respond to the stimulus that we receive in our life. Now, on the other side, on the other hand of the spectrum, is those with an internal locus of emotional responsibility. So these people know that we are responsible for everything that we feel, no matter what anyone else does or doesn't do. And again, this is not placing fault, like it's not your fault to feel whatever you feel, but it is your responsibility to actually be with it and feel it. So, just because someone else is anxious, if they're angry or stressed out, it does not mean that we have to be too. Just because we feel a certain emotion, like sadness, for example, doesn't mean that we have to react to it in the way of having to cry and having to be distraught and not getting anything else done. It's really just the ability to notice your emotion, feel it, and own it. And kind of when you allow yourself to own and accept what's going on inside of you, you can move on from it. You have more autonomy and more responsibility in how you respond and what you do and how you show up in all of those things. So it's like just because we feel a traditionally positive, quote unquote, or negative, quote unquote, emotion doesn't mean we have to respond in a traditional way to those feelings. Sometimes it really is just sitting with it, just being with it, just allowing it. Sometimes it looks a specific way for a specific person, but most times it's just not relating to it as if it's a problem, just allowing it to be there and knowing that you have responsibility in how this emotion chooses to manifest in your life and what you do or don't do from it and the results that you create from this feeling and those actions. So, yeah, this lesson is simple, but it's not easy. It's important to learn to no longer be at the mercy of yours or anyone else's emotions and take back the power in your life by operating closer to the side of an internal locus of emotional responsibility. When you function on the end of an external locus of control, it's likely that you take actions that you wouldn't normally intend, or even some that you might regret. And again, regret is emotion that you decide. Like the only thing that makes you feel regret is if you think that something is to be regretted. So if you never have that thought, then you never feel regret. But I digress. On the other end of the spectrum, we take ownership of our emotional state and our actions, and we're accountable for how we show up. So even if we do act out of pocket, we're able to own it as such. We're able to recognize that, like, hey, I was acting out of pocket. This is what happened. This is what I was feeling, or whatever. It's not just this, oh my God, I couldn't control it. These emotions are taking over me. If so and so didn't say that dumbass shit, then I wouldn't have had to act out of pocket. No, it's not that. It's, yeah, this shit happens. Shit happens, but also I'm owning my own. I know why it's happening because I'm aware of my feelings. I'm aware of my emotional state. And I do not offload that responsibility or the management of my emotional state to other people. Because allowing yourself to be dependent on somebody else for your emotional satisfaction is one of the most disempowering things that you can do. You're like constantly waiting for somebody else to do the thing in the way that you already know how to do it. One of my coach friends says that you are your own best partner in relation to self pleasure or masturbation. And basically, the idea there is you don't have to stop and redirect yourself. You don't have to say, oh, wait, lighter, harder, over to the left, over the right, stay right there. It's like you already know because it's you, it's your body. You don't have that feedback loop or middleman or whatever getting in the way with you knowing what you need and you giving it to yourself. When you have an internal locus of emotional responsibility, you are your own best partner. You know what to do, you know where to go, you know what feels good, what doesn't, you know how to get to the promised land, so to speak. But when you don't, when you have an external locus of responsibility, it's more like you're waiting on your partner to be the one to get you there. And they are the only one that can get you there. Like you can't do it for yourself. You can't really tell them how to do it. Like you just have to wait and be at their mercy to just hope that they figure out exactly what you need as you need it without you really having a say or control or power in it because you already gave it to them. You just expect them to make you feel the way you want to feel without your input. And again, it's not wrong. There are no wrong spots here, bad spots here. Like if you choose self pleasure more versus your partner pleasuring you in a certain kind of way, like more power to you. This is just showing you where and how that responsibility lies and how it manifests. So, having an internal locus of emotional responsibility requires more effort and more responsibility on your own self, but it's entirely worth it because you're not managing that effort and responsibility for someone else as well. It's not second nature to us because it's not what we're taught. We're honestly taught the opposite, that other people cause our emotions and we need other people to act in certain ways so that we can feel certain things. That's why it feels so weird to begin taking this responsibility for yourself. But know that it's normal to feel a little weird and know that you can always learn the lessons that are ingrained in you. You have the power to be emotionally responsible for yourself. You have the option to be emotionally responsible for yourself. You actually don't have the option to be emotionally responsible for other people. You have the option to try. You have the option to believe that that's how it works, but you can't actually make anyone else feel something that happens inside of them. Granted, you can like help facilitate certain emotions within them. You can make it easier for them to believe certain things so then they can feel certain ways, but you can't do it for them. I'm sure we all know that person who's been in our lives where we tell them something like, oh my God, no, you're so awesome. You're so gorgeous. You look amazing in that dress or whatever it is. And they're like, no, no, can't be true. You're lying. So and so's looks better. It's like you can give them everything you got, but if they're not believing it, then it doesn't track for them. That's how our emotions work. We have to believe the thought. We have to believe the story so then we can have the emotion. If we don't believe it, then we don't have it. And you can't make anybody else believe something that they don't want to. You can't even do that for yourself, honestly, but you do have more wiggle room. You do have the ability to work with your thoughts and see why you don't believe something and if you want to change that belief and how and what would be most supportive and nurturing to you. It's just, you have just so much more control there that you can operate from. So, lots of information. What do we do with it? So, how do you know where in the spectrum, where in the locus of emotional responsibility that you're currently operating in? First step, slow down. This is usually my first step in literally fucking anything. Slow the fuck down. When you slow down, you are better able to grasp what's happening, what are certain stimulus, what are certain triggers, how you're even feeling. And it just requires you to stop moving at such a high speed pace, stop running on the hamster wheels. Like, yeah, just stop, slow down, and be with yourself. So that's part two. Be with your body, be with yourself, be with your mind, and allow whatever is there to be there. This is the acceptance part. It's not the, oh gosh, why am I sad? Why am I angry? Why am I anxious? Why am I confused? Why is this happening? Like, no, let that go. It's happening. We can get to the why and how to fix it later, but we must first acknowledge that it's happening. Let it be there. No judgment, no shame, just acceptance. And then when you actually accept it, that that's how you're feeling in this given time, notice it. Notice what happens in your body. What does this feeling actually feel like physically? Where is it in your body? How big is it? Is it moving? Is it stationary? Does it have a color? What shape is it? So many questions that you can ask just to familiarize yourself with it. If it had a message for you, what would it say? Just really getting acquainted with these sensations, with this feeling. And once you do that, just name it. Call it whatever you want. It could be sadness, it could be anger, it could be a snuffleupagus. Whatever you want to call it, just name it. Allow it to be a thing instead of this like elusive mystery that just overcomes you. It's a thing, it has a name, it has a purpose, it has a reason. And then once you name it, you can get curious about it. Ask yourself, well, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? And see what comes up. So once you actually understand how you're feeling, what do you do with that information? Again, you do not judge or shame yourself. This is just your current reality of how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's not righteous. It just is. So once you just accept the reality of your current feelings and why you feel that way. I want you to isolate the facts in your story versus your thoughts in your story, like your actual story. Okay, I'm thinking of an example. So you're at work and you have a performance review. And in your performance review, your manager says you could have done project X in a tighter timeline or whatever. They just have something to say. So, this is the facts of the situation. You were having a performance review. You have manager named so and so. Manager said these words, whether they were written or said to you in person, verbatim, whatever. You want to be very specific about what actually happened. And then this is where why comes in. Like, why are you feeling upset about this? And it's because you were making it mean. And just in this example, like, my manager thinks I'm incapable of doing my job and I don't deserve a promotion. Did they say that? No. Did they allude to that? Who knows? Maybe. You want to get very, very specific about the actual facts. What happened? I was in their office, or we were on a Zoom call, or these words were said, or this was submitted, or this was given back. Like, you want to be very concrete about the actual facts. And then everything else is the story. Oh, well, he thinks I'm incapable and I don't deserve a promotion. No, that was never said. That's just the story that you have. And that story has you upset. It has you feeling sad or anxious or hopeless or angry or whatever is coming up for you. It's because of that story. So then you get curious about it. What is it about this story? Well, is it possible that anything else can be true? How is this story actually even serving me right now? If we were to go through a model and see like, oh, my manager thinks I'm incapable and I don't deserve a promotion, likely the result of that is just evidence of how I believe that I'm incapable and don't deserve a promotion. Meaning, like, I don't build my own confidence in myself or my work abilities. I don't improve my work abilities, and I don't give myself the opportunity to get a promotion. Like, you just make this whole thing a self fulfilling prophecy. You continue to feel shitty, all because of the story that you had associated to the facts. And you get to choose your story. Again, it's not right. It's not wrong for you to believe one story for X amount of time and then switch the story. It's all your choice. But just having the awareness, knowing that you're not upset just because like your boss isn't giving you a promotion. You're upset because your boss said certain words and you made them mean that you're not getting a promotion. Very, very impactful difference into where you are placing that responsibility of how you feel and the opportunities that arise for you to do something about it. So, yeah, once you get curious, you can continue to get curious. You can continue to ask yourself questions and figure out what it means and why it's a problem. And if things were different, how would you allow yourself to feel? And all these different things. You can continue to get curious about the story that you have. But once you kind of settle your curiosity, you get to decide what you want to believe on purpose. This is where the magic happens because you can decide to believe something that actually serves you. You can decide to believe something that makes you feel good. You can decide to believe something that gives you the results that you want. So, in the same circumstance of you having a performance review and your manager saying that you could have done project X in a shorter timeline, you can be like, okay, great. Like, this is an opportunity for me to show the impact of my work. This is another chance that I get to display why I'm qualified and why I deserve a promotion. This is an opportunity for me to advocate for myself and just reconfiguring that power back to yourself instead of somebody else has to do something, somebody else has to believe something, somebody else has the power to make me feel a certain kind of way. It's like, no, this is yours. You get to feel how you want. You get to do what you want. You get to show up how you want. You get to create what you want, no matter what anybody else does or thinks. You get to still get the promotion. You get to make more money. You get to be happier. You get to work less hours. You get to have boundaries and actually stick to their consequences, even if your boss says you could have done better. You are allowed to believe in what you want on purpose. And you have more autonomy deciding what you want to believe on purpose when you're operating from an internal locus of emotional responsibility. The choice is yours. And of course, this relates back to pleasure and prioritizing your pleasure, because when you are operating from a place where things are happening to you and you're out of control, you're not taking control. You're not advocating for yourself. You're not doing what you want to do. You're not even understanding what your pleasures are or what brings you joy or how to create more of them, because you're so caught up in the dynamic of trying to control the uncontrollable so you could feel a certain kind of way, when really you get to feel anyway about your controls and uncontrollables. Having more of an internal locus of emotional responsibility lays the groundwork for you to have a better relationship with yourself and the opportunity to even prioritize your pleasure in the first place, because you're aware of it and you know how to get it. And once you do that, you change the world. So yeah, this has been super educational episode. I was on my teaching soapbox today, but of course, if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to be talked about on an upcoming podcast, definitely respond at a comment, shoot me an email to this podcast episode, and we will get those questions answered. Also, if you want to take this work a step deeper with having guidance and assistance in a one on one coach, I do have spots open for my 6-month pleasure priority program. We dive deep into all things you and all things your pleasure and how to create more of it. If that's interesting to you, you can check out the link in the show notes. But with that, I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you next time. Hey, friends. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Pleasure Priority Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If it's your pleasure, check me out on Instagram at Amber Taylor Coaching and my website, www.ambertaylorcoaching.com, for more on increasing your pleasure across all aspects of life. As always, make sure to follow the show and check back each week for a new episode. I'd also love it if you'd leave an honest rating and review, and if you'd share the show with anyone else you think would benefit. Much love. Talk soon, friends.